Right, so we've hit here. It's going to be the same again. I'm just going to make a bit of space over here so I can see. I'm not too sure about this spacing here. It looks like that one is slightly bigger than that one, so I'm just going to knock that up a bit. There we go. So the ball hits the ground. So again, I'm going to do the bounce first, and then I'm going to do the moving over second. So 1, 2, bounces back up. Looking at this, as long as I don't go above it, I'm okay. I think I'll take it to about there, because it is going to be slowly losing energy as gravity pulls it to the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, nudge up. 5, 6, nudge up. And I'll give it 7, 8 up at the top. 1, 2, falls down. 1, 2, falls down a bit more. 1, 2 to there, and 1, 2 to there. So we'll do the same as we did before. I've just moved the timeline along a bit so that I can see the other end. And we'll just say that it's going to take another 4 frames to hit this step here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to drag this over, and I'm going to nudge this down to there and say to Maya, right, that's where it's going to land. Right, and we're going to do the exact same that we did last time. We're going to say to translate X, linear curve from here to here, linear. And I'm going to linear curve it back as well, linear back. Let me just play that back, see what that looks like. Dumph and dumph, okay, fab. So I'm going to go back through now and break this linear curve into steps. So 1, 2, right click on translate X and hit key selected. 1, 2, hit the G key, it should repeat it, yep, great. 1, 2, repeat, 1, 2, repeat, and we're done. So great, and we've made it down to there now. Let's have a look at the translate Y. Okay, let's have a look at our spacing. Good slow out there, increases a bit more there, increases a bit more there. Appears to slow down here, so let's just increase that. And then 1, 2, we're missing one here. I'm going to show you a new way of adding a keyframe. I could go over here, right click and hit key selected, and it'll add the frame for me. Or I can come up here to the top left, and you've got insert keys tool. Click on that, and middle click in the middle of a curve. Middle click, and it appears. Hit the W key so that I go back to move. Highlight over that, hold shift, pull it down into the right place. Let's just say it's about there. Excellent, let's have a look. Bounces and bounces. Okay, that one doesn't look as good as the first one. It's probably just because it's not bouncing back up again. Maybe it's the spacing, perhaps it doesn't quite slow, it doesn't quite speed up so well. You see over these 4 here are all almost exactly the same. So I'm going to pull that one back up a bit, I'm going to pull that one back up a bit, and I'm going to pull that one back up a bit so that that one's got the most, this one's got the second most, that one's got the third most, that one's got it, and you've basically got that. Okay, so I'm just looking at it, and I think that it is taking too long to get down there. That one's fine, that one just, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. It looks like it spends a bit too much time in the air. So I'm going to take one of the frames out. Let me just count through what I've got here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 down there. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 up. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 down. And I'm thinking I just want to have 10 down instead, as a way of decreasing the amount of frames as this ball goes down, as a way of showing that gravity's slowing it down. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to shunt this along 2 frames and adjust everything else so that it fits. Now these two sides need to look, as it rises up and as it rises down, the 2 sides need to be relatively identical so that it looks like it, so it doesn't move up in one way and move down in another. I'm going to take that to about there and have a look at that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that's fine. It looks like the X. Yeah, look, the X. It's because I took a frame off before. So I need to move the X back over there. So what I think I'll do is I'll just chop that off the end. There we go. So that it doesn't slide. Great. I'd rather that was a bit further along. I'd rather it was a bit more in the middle. So I'm going to have a look at this here. When did it bounce? It bounced there. So I'm going to grab these. I'm going to just scale them up slightly. So I'm going to press the R button, hold shift, and click up and down. You can see I'm moving it around like that with the scale key. I'm going to take it to about there because I'd rather it was there. I'll play it back just to make sure that doesn't look ridiculous. It looks fine. Only 2 more steps to go. So I've hit the ground. I'm going to bounce back up. 1, 2. Bounces up. Let's have a look at the translate Y over here. See how it looks. Get it up and take it to about there. So before it took 8 frames to bounce back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it took 8 frames to bounce back up before. I'm going to try 6 this time. Decrease it by 2 and just see if that works and how that looks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it'll probably take, I'll take 2 off again, so before it was taking 10 frames to get to the ground, this time it'll take 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8. So it would have gotten all the way down to there by that point, and I'll move it along so that it lands in the right place. There. Right, we'll just have a look at this spacing. I want to try and mimic this side as always so that the two look relatively similar because it is the same object. Looks similar, yep, good. And then this one's the one where it's going to have to do all the work. Let's say it goes about there. Okay, let's have a look at the X curve. I'll linear between the two of them. Right, let's watch that back. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Yeah, I'm alright with that. Let's keep going. Right, so let's hit the ground. 1, 2, back up. To about there. Slightly below the earlier one. 1, 2. Right, I did 6 before. I really don't fancy trying to do 4. I'm going to have to though. To continue decreasing things. So let's try 4 and see what happens. This is going to end up rolling into the hoop, I can see it. So it bounces back up. Slows right down straight away. Starts to fall. Falls down. And then it'll only be 6 this time. So 1, 2, goes down a bit more, 3, 4, then hits the step. Drag this over here. I'm going to make it land about there so that it's getting closer and closer to the edge. We'll make it touch the ground there. I'm slowly decreasing the amount of frames it takes for this ball to do a full arc, a full bounce. I've moved the ball over to here with the X, so I'm going to click on X here and have a look. It's already lineared it for me, so I'm just going to click this one to make it straight. Let's watch that back and see if it looks weird or not. Yeah, it's alright, isn't it? You probably noticed I've stopped bothering to break down my X spline curve into steps. It doesn't bother me enough to go to the effort, but if it does bother you, feel free to go back through and step it all. Alright, I think we're ready to land in the hoop. I've decreased from 10 to 8 to 6. That last one only took 4 frames for it to rise up into the air, and then 6 frames to drop back down to the ground, which means this time it should only take 2 frames for it to bounce in the air, and 4 frames for it to land in this hoop. 1, 2, up, 1, 2, falling down, slow down, and 1, 2, hit the floor, so it's going to bounce there. Ooh, look at that, it's going to hit the edge, it's going to be a Kirby. I'm going to slow this down so that it's got a proper slow out before it hits the edge. So the ball went up, came down, hit that, bounces off that. Oh, that was a big bounce. Let's try from there instead. Bounce off the corner, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. And there we go. I'm going to shrink down the size of this timeline just so I can focus on this end bit. Let's have a look at the translate Y. actually seems pretty decent, that. Perhaps a little bit less. I need to look at the translate X. Not the most even. I think I'm going to delete these and just let it slow out like that, as it might do by itself. It takes too long. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to alter these. So it takes 4 to bounce up, and then it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to get down. I'm going to go with 6 instead and see if that improves things. Get rid of that. Hold W, hold Shift, move that along. And let's see now. Yeah, I prefer it like that. I've just deleted 2 frames from the down, so therefore this looks like it's sliding along from frame 45 to 47. So what I need to do is tell this to move back to frame 145 instead. And I can do that up here where it says stats. It's on 147 at the moment, so I'm just going to change that to 145. And when I hit enter, that'll jump back to there. And the last thing that we need to do now is animate this bouncing back and forwards within this ring. So for this, I'm actually going to switch view. So I'm going to hold down space, click on the Maya button, click and hold, and then go to perspective view. And just have a closer look now at this thing in here. And it wants to bounce back and forwards really. When it lands there, you can see there's an angle around here, so it's going to bounce back up and go over there. And I'm just going to do this by hand using nothing but my judgment really, and hope that I get it somewhere near right. So it's going to land there, bounce back up, bounce along and land down there, and then probably back to there, and then probably back to there. And then probably back to there. Yeah, I can see what's happening there. I'm going to make this slip all the way through. You can see what I'm going for. Let me have a look at Translate Y again. Let's see what this is doing. So it basically just wants to fall all the way through at this point as we go through. So I'm going to delete them and just increasingly speed it up as it falls through. And that should do the job. Wonder how that looks. Yeah, I think it looks fair anyway. Need to keep it going as it drops through. Expand the graph editor a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Perhaps it's not increasing in its speed enough. It's an awkward place for it to stop. Let me just watch this and make sure it's what I want. Doesn't look too bad. A few different options we could do with that really. Right, let's spline this and see how it looks. This time I'm going to extend the timeline entirely. And I'm just going to hold shift and left click from here all the way across to here. I'm going to right click, go to tangents and go to auto spline. Play it back from the beginning. Doink. Bounce, 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 and in. Yeah, the last thing we need to do is put the rotations on, and then we're finished.